So I'll be talking about phaco on small pupil, and we all know that small pupil has many causes, and it has always been one of the main conditions which causes problems for a phaco surgeon, however experienced or inexperienced you may be. And the risk of all complications that are possible increases when you have a small pupil. So along with the techniques that are utilized to enlarge the pupil for the surgery, you should also use other things like slow motion phaco, low fluidics, low parameters, etc., so that the surgery is in general much safer than nowadays. Now, the kind of techniques that are available are either pharmacological, where you have kind of intracameral drugs, etc., viscometriasis, devices, rings, and other pupillary expansion devices, hooks, pupillary stretch, which is becoming almost obsolete now, and a combination of these different techniques. So if I can show this small video, this is if you have a small pupil, every step of the surgery, right from capsular itself, becomes much more difficult because you have to work literally at the edge of the pupil, and the chances of all complications increase. So either you have to be very experienced, but along with that, you also have to be very lucky to be able to perform a successful surgery in such a small pupil, and this is not possible for most of us. So the different devices that are available are, number one is viscometriasis, using super cohesive viscoelastics and different high density viscoelastics that are now available, like Heon 5, which causes viscometriasis. But along with that, as the viscoelastic is washed in the anterior chamber, the tube tends to come back to its normal position. So we have to keep re-injecting the viscoelastic that we are using. And this will need obviously take some time. And also we need to have low bottle height, low fluidics, so that there is less turbulence and the viscoelastic does not wash out very easily, and we can perform this surgery. But whenever the pupil comes down, we should re-inject, and then most important, at the end of the surgery, we should remove all that Helon 5, especially from under the IOL, because we have used such a super cohesive viscoelastic. Then the pupillary expansion much popular in India because of the Indian Make in India thing. But Malukian ring is something that has been around for a long time. It comes now, and it comes with its own injector. So the advantage is you can introduce it through the main incision itself, and then as the Malukian ring enters the anterior chamber, the first three straws can be easily put in to engage the iris, and then we take a second instrument and ensure that there is a uniform pupillary dilatation. The other advantage is that it provides, sort of protects the pupillary body all 360 degrees. So there's hardly any risk of catching the iris while doing your maneuvers during the cataract surgery. So as you can see, with the Malukian ring in place, you can rest easy and all the steps become so much easier. There is no stress on the capsulozonular complex. The ring stays there. There is no danger of it slipping off. It is very well engaged with the iris and causes a uniform 360 degrees dilation. And then this is the IOL, which is being implanted with Malukian ring in place. So these kind of, there are many kind of pupillary expansion devices that are now available. And it depends on what you offer. Of course, add a bit to the expense. All of them come with their own injectors. So you can easily introduce them in the anterior chamber. And again, in all these surgeries, even though the ring is there, we have to make sure that we remove all the viscoelastic, because these are all difficult cases where the viscoelastic is used more generous. Now, this is the injector. The same injector is used to remove the Malukian ring from the anterior chamber. Now, the first thing is that during the surgery, the iris becomes a little edematous. So the spurs are engaged even more tightly. So we have to first very carefully disengage all the Malukian ring scrolls from the iris so that there is no tear. And after disengaging, once the Malukian ring is free into the anterior chamber, only then we should take it back into the injector. And once we engage one scroll into the injector, then all the ring itself folds up and it can be taken out through the main incision. The main to remember that the edematous iris during surgery can cause tears, so we should remove it very carefully at the end of surgery. Now, before the pupillary expansion devices, iris rafters were available. They are less commonly used now with the availability of the pupillary expansion devices, but they will not become obsolete because by the expansion devices, there are some cases where iris have a role, like if there is an asymmetric small pupil where you want, you can, it is much easier to titrate the stretch on the pupil with the iris hooks. You can use it in a particular area where suppose you're in an IOL exchange or some such maneuver, then the iris hooks are more advantageous. You use diamond configuration so that the interior where most of your phaco maneuvers take place. You should always remember that the subincisional iris hook tends to come off, so we should avoid rotating hook because otherwise the subincisional iris hook will slip off. And the disadvantages that we have to make for additional paracentesis incisions, the iris hooks may come off, so when we reinsert, we should not catch the capsular rhexis margin. Now, pupillary stretch technique more or less obsolete, but rigid small pupils, like there is now a distinction being made between rigid and elastic small pupils. So in rigid small pupils like post-uveitic fibrotic iridine, there is a role for the pupillary stretch technique because in these rigid iris, if you then use expansion device and it stretches, there may be a tear. So it's a good idea to make it a little lax with the use of pupillary stretch technique. We should not stretch it too much, and the action force should obviously be gradual. No tear anywhere. And pupillary stretch technique should never be used in cases of floppy iris syndrome, and it should only be used or reserved for use in cases which are this kind of a thick post-uveitic fibrotic iris, because the pupillary stretch also causes a prostaglandin leak, causes leukosis during surgery. But it has a role in the kind of cases, and after we have stretched the iris, we may introduce viscomydriasis, or we may introduce iris hooks, or some even pupillary expansion devices. So as I said, avoid iris stretch in cases of iris syndrome, because once you stretch it, the iris will become even more floppy and will tend to come out of your incisions, and it will become difficult to handle. So this is only for some cases. Now, intracameral pharmacological agents like lignocaine, etc. This is a very small pupil. This shows for demonstration purposes that as you inject intracameral preservative-free lignocaine in this case, the pupil dilates. But this, of course, is a temporary pupillary dilatation, and we must. We also have other, ready-made injections that are coming up, like Phenocaine Plus, etc., which can be introduced into the anterior chamber, and they cause good pupillary dilatation, and they can be re-injected whenever the pupil comes back to its normal position. So, along with the different things, we always must ensure that we have all our emulsification, low fluidics, etc. So to summarize, iris retractors, pupil expansion rings, and high viscosity OVDs are now available, and they facilitate in managing phacoemulsification in cases of small pupil. There are other quick solutions that can be utilized in the operation theater. Now, epi-sugarcane was something that was popularized long ago by Dr. Joel Sugar. This is a combination of BSS plus preservative-free lidocaine, preservative-free epinephrine. This can be used freshly made in the OT, but thankfully we now have ready-made solutions like Phenocaine Plus, which is available from the Entod, and this has a combination of phenylephrine, lidocaine, and propylamide, all preservative-free, which can be injected into the anterior chamber. We also have Oculan, which is basically intracameral preservative-free lignocaine, which is available from Sundays. And there are other things that are coming up. So these, and before all these companies came up with these solutions, we always had the dialocarbicals by the cardiologist. So these things can also be used along with the pupillary expansion rings, etc., to provide dilatation of the pupil. And of course, all these techniques are for cases where there is just a small pupil. It goes without saying that you have a pupillary synechia and all, then you have to be very careful, release all the synechia before you use any of these devices. So to summarize, identify the potential problem cases periodically so that you are prepared. You have your rings, your pupillary expansion devices, iris hooks, whatever you want to use beforehand. And you also have explained to the patient that you may have to give a block admitted, increased timing for surgery. And so the patient as well as the OT team is very prepared for these cases. Many techniques and devices are available. We have to use as appropriate and as per the case and as per our individual choices. Also do a gentle slow motion phaco. And also do not forget that even though there may be a lot of pressure to use phaco, do phaco, SICS or ECC, whatever you are most comfortable with in these difficult cases, because most of these cases would also have additional problems in the eye. So thank you very much and stay safe all of you.